all settle in, please? Everyone can settle in. Alrighty. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's senior speeches for the class of 2025. Our first speaker today is Henry Mason.
Good morning. One of the biggest myths of human life is perfection. Perfection is unachievable. I wish this was something I realized much sooner. I probably would have saved days worth of studying for school, overthinking mistakes I've made, and worrying about the future. Everyone has something that they seem to never be good enough at. It can be a job, a sport, or an activity that you strive to be perfect in. For me, it has always been academics. I used to not be okay with anything less than A's on my report card. I was the type of person to fill up the margins on every writing assignment so I didn't forget to write anything. Sorry to any of my teachers that I had to read all that. Combining these habits with my procrastination, this combination was not great for my sleep schedule. It often meant that I was up at 1 a.m. doing my homework for the next day. Over time, I began to realize that this routine was unnecessary and unhealthy. Around the second half of my junior year, I decided to make a change in these habits. I worked on making my writing more concise, working more efficiently, and accepting grades I previously would not have been happy with. This transition was hard, and it had several challenges that tested my willpower. My first big test came when third quarter report cards were published. The thing that I dreaded my whole school career had come back true. I had gotten a B on my report card. When I first saw this development on my report card, the first thing I felt was unsure. What happens next? Will colleges care? Will my parents care? As the reality of this grade settled in for me, however, I had the opposite reaction of what I had expected. I realized that no one really cared if I got a B. I was extremely relieved. It felt like a weight had been lifted off me. The class that I had gotten this B in was comparative government. This was a class which I rarely studied, and I may not have done any of the readings that year. However, it was a very interesting class, and I actually liked a lot of the things that I learned. So I decided to conduct an experiment. I wanted to see what helped me take in knowledge better, incessantly studying and doing way too much work or having a genuine interest in the class. The perfect opportunity to test this came in the form of AP tests. AP tests are supposed to test your overall knowledge of the class that you have just taken. They are scored on a scale of 1 to 5. To conduct my experiment, I decided not to study outside of class for any of my AP tests. This way, I could see which class I had truly learned the most in over the year. I expected to do the best in one of the classes that I spent the longest working on and studying throughout the year. However, to my surprise, when I went to take the test for comparative government, it felt like a breeze compared to the other tests. I ended up scoring a 5 on that test, the highest score out of the 4 tests I had taken. That score represented much more to me than its label of extremely well qualified. It meant that my enjoyment of learning was enough to make me learn the content. I didn't need a perfectionistic mechanism to succeed, the mechanism which used to push me to do work in an excessive manner. This development is what led me to develop the mindset that perfection is not worth pursuing. I realized that no matter how many hours I spent working to try to perfect my academics, I would never get 100% on every assignment. Sometimes it's best to settle for an 85 and spend the time that you save to do things you actually like, relax, find new hobbies, and most importantly, get a decent amount of sleep. The idea that no one will ever achieve perfection may seem like a pessimistic statement. However, it is actually the opposite a lot of the time. If perfection was possible, the world would be boring. It's imperfections in life that makes things fun and interesting. Thinking back to my time in high school, I realized a lot of the great memories that I had were created due to mistakes and imperfections. One experience in particular comes to mind for me. You can't talk about imperfections without talking about Collegiate's first ever JVB soccer team. We may not have scored any goals that season, we may have lost every game, but we were still a force to be reckoned with on the field. We probably racked up around 20 yellow cards over the season. While it may not have been fun in the moment to lose all of our games, it's always funny to think back to the memories of being the team that the other team's parents hated the most. Many of the players on our team bonded from the shared experience on the team, and if nothing else, we came away with a better appreciation for the goals that we score and the games that we win on the future. Even when it seems disappointing to make mistakes in the moment, these mistakes can make a positive impact on you if you have the right mindset. Mistakes make life interesting, help you form new memories, and learn what to change in the future. We all have those memories of things not going as planned, but ending up being fun, exciting, or at least something you could laugh at in the future. While perfection may sound like a great thing, it can never be achieved. Have peace in the fact that you'll never get 100 on every assignment, you'll never win every game, and you'll never give the perfect speech. Don't try to be perfect, but try your best and appreciate the imperfections in life.
Our second speaker today is James Marshall.
My entire life, I've been hearing the saying, "You can do whatever you put your mind to." I took this advice to heart and have done many things in my life. The part that isn't included in that quote is equally important though. You have to make sure that something that you're committing yourself to doing is something that you actually want to do. For the longest time, I did things for the approval of others. In middle school, I started swimming because my parents thought it was about time I got in shape. I hated swimming, partly because I absolutely sucked at the sport, which is kind of ironic now since I work as a lifeguard, but also because I couldn't enjoy it since I wasn't going to the freezing pool at 6 a.m. on my own volition. Eventually, I had to be honest with myself. Why was I doing something I hated so much? The answer was that I wanted my parents' approval. Resolving to do something for myself, I decided to quit swimming and join the track team, a sport that I've enjoyed a lot more and was a lot better at. On the track team, I have reached heights I never would have gotten to with swimming, simply because track was something I myself wanted to do. If there's something you don't enjoy doing, you don't have to completely cut it off though. Perspective is everything in life, and this is no exception. My example is piano. Much like swimming, I originally dreaded playing piano. I mean, anyone would with the amount of bummy songs my teacher wanted me to play. But this time, instead of quitting, I decided to play the songs I actually liked, ones that made me excited to learn. Much like in my athletic experience, pursuing what I was genuinely interested in made playing the piano a much more beautiful experience, and I learned so much faster and played my songs so much better than any song my teacher had assigned me. Not only did I start enjoying my life more, I also became much better at doing the things I wanted to do compared to the things I did for approval. Life is too short to spend it doing things for others. You should live for yourself and enjoy the time you have here. So don't join clubs just so your college app will look better. Don't pretend to be friends with people you don't actually like, and don't measure your self-worth on your successes. Measuring your own value with accomplishments and trophies is a losing game. You'll end up stuck in a cycle of chasing the next trophy, because once you get it, you'll finally be good enough. But that moment of satisfaction will never last. There are always more awards to win and someone else achieving more. This is a trap that I've fallen into in the past. Chasing success, I worked until I couldn't see an end and burned myself out. There's a quote I once overheard from most goats that stuck with me. No matter if you finish in first or last, you should cross the finish line with a smile on your face. At the time, I thought this was the dumbest thing ever. How can you be happy with a last place finish? But after some deep pondering, I realized the true wisdom of her words. Your happiness shouldn't be dependent on the place you get. You should enjoy the process regardless of the result. This reminded me of something poet and philosopher Bob Marley once said. Money is numbers, and numbers never end. If it takes money to be happy, your search for happiness will never end. If you tie your self-worth to your material accomplishments, you will never end up feeling fulfilled. Pursuing success, instead, should be seen more as a hobby, something you do for enjoyment. This doesn't mean you shouldn't take your goals seriously, but if you don't enjoy the process of achieving it, you might need to rethink the reason you're doing it in the first place. So what should we value ourselves off of? I believe that self-worth is measured by what those closest to you think about you and your character. These are the people that will value you even if all your achievements and wins were taken away. Among these people, the person whose opinion you should value most is your own. You should be your own biggest fan because at the end of the day, The only person that is constantly able to influence you is yourself. Yes, having a strong support system is important, but they won't always be around to help. This is especially true for many of us seniors going into college. This is why it's so important to focus on developing yourself into someone you'd enjoy being around. If you and the people closest to you don't like your character, no amount of success can fix that. Every one of you is capable of leading a happy, fulfilling life. The key to doing this is to lead a life you want to, and not someone else's life they made for you. Be genuine to yourself, work hard, and good things will happen. Thank you.
Our third speaker today is Henry Hasselbacher.
Most people in this room have had an experience that is strange or unique. We are all on a different path through life, and we all go through our own series of events. This concept is what makes each of us different. I'll never know what it's like to be an only child, and some people like me and the other lifers in my class have never attended a school other than collegiate. Collegiate has been the place I've grown up in, and I've always thought to myself, what would it be like to go to another school? While I can hear stories from other kids, I'll never truly know what that experience is like. This concept can be seen in many other of my life experiences. For example, I've had a bat in my room on 2 separate occasions. Luckily, neither of them had rabies. But also in kindergarten, I broke both the bones in my left wrist, and a little over 2 years ago, I broke both the bones in my left shin. These scenarios are very similar to the fact that I'll never know what it's like to be an only child. Some people may never actually get to know what certain life events are like, and even though we can share stories about our experiences, some people may never fully understand what the experience feels like because they will never have that experience firsthand. I've always wondered what it would be like to be an only child. While I did have 22 months as an only child at the beginning of my life, the human brain does not start to process memories until around age 3 or 4, so I don't really have any recollection of that time. Although my brother was gone last summer for overnight camp while I was at home, I do not believe that the 2-week-long period of his absence is truly representative of the life of an only child. I can hear stories from my friends that don't have any siblings, but I'll always have one of my best friends at home. I can only imagine that life at home without a sibling would be boring. I've noticed that kids who don't have any siblings seem to get out of the house more. While quality time spent with my parents is always something I look forward to, I cannot imagine how much more boring my life at home would be without Leo. I'll always have a Fortnite duos partner and someone to talk to who understands me better than an adult. With Leo, there are no dull moments in my day. However, sometimes I just wonder what my day would be like without him. So I'll walk you through my typical school day, but I'll pretend that my brother doesn't exist. So I wake up at 6 o'clock, and I'll spare you the details of my morning routine, but then I pack my backpack, eat breakfast, and I grab a snack for school. I leave the house slightly earlier than I normally do because I'm not waiting for Leo to get ready too. The car ride is boring because I have no one to talk to, and I get to school early enough that my swipe card doesn't work yet. So I'm stuck outside in the cold while the doorbell rings. Because of this, I'm glad Leo waits to pack his backpack until after breakfast. I quietly walk alone into the high school because I'm missing the small talk that I make with Leo when I walk in. The next few hours remain relatively unchanged until I get to math class. The Calc BC test average is at least 5% lower because my brother is not there to act as collegiate's young Sheldon. Fast forward to the end of the school day and we have track practice. I'm pretty alone until practice starts because Leo isn't around to talk to me about his day. The warm-up is dull and monotonous because Leo isn't around with his frequent entertaining comments. Because we don't have a track, we're stuck running our reps up and down Glen Mary Avenue, which is quite boring. The reps are even more boring today because Leo isn't there to run with me. And the workout is much more difficult because it's harder to run alone. And after practice, my drive home is boring again because Leo isn't there to talk to me. The dinner table feels so empty with only 3 people. I struggle with my math homework, but I have to figure it out on my own because young Sheldon isn't around to help me. Finally, I probably wouldn't watch a TV show before going to sleep because Leo has drawn me into the most of the shows I watch. As you can tell, my fictional day without my brother was pretty boring. Also, the day without my brother was a full day at school, so I was distracted by all my friends. However, if I was at home all day, like I am on a weekend, my day would lack even more excitement. When I go to college in August, Leo's going to be left as an only child for 2 years before he leaves for college too. Leo, you'll have to tell me what it's like to be the only kid at home. What I hope that all of you take away from my speech today is that you should treasure what you have. After walking through my theoretical day without my brother, I realized that I'm very grateful that I'll never have to know what it's like without him. When I go off to college, I'm going to miss having someone to talk to in the car, someone to run with at practice, and someone I can laugh with. I might not ever be able to truly know what it feels like to be an only child, but going to college next year is going to be the closest I'll get. Appreciate your siblings because most of you aren't thinking about the fact that eventually you won't live under the same roof. Through all the arguments and fights, your siblings will always be there for you, and they'll always be your best friends, so treasure every moment with them. So don't hold grudges against your siblings because if you're going to be there for them, they're going to be there for you. Thank you.